Or even during the meeting?
Yeah. I can move around and I have. Hello? 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 Hello, anybody hear me? Hello, hello? Hello? Hmm. Hey Beth, am I good to go? Anybody out there hear me? Hmm. Hello, do you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, am I there? See me now? Tomorrow would be fine. Great. Hope you get to feeling better. Can you hear me now? I wave my hand. Hello. I can see me on the screen. Hello? Do you hear me now? Hello, do you hear me now? This is the second time I had to switch to some safe driving mode.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I believe the bell has rung. With that, I will
I
go
hear you
ahead
now.
and call our regular town council meeting for the month of July to order. And before passing it off, I do want to recognize we have former Mayor Ricky Waring in the attendance. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. We appreciate that. All right, we'll pass it over to Councilwoman Garten for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
And if you'd like to pray with us, please bow your head. Most Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, Lord. We just put everything down before you, Lord, that you would be in charge of tonight's meeting, that you will be rule over our town, Lord. Help the council members and the other leaders of our town make the right decisions. We thank you for our country. We pray for peace overseas and within our country itself, Lord. We just ask that you guide us in all that we do and say. In your name we pray with thanks. Amen. I pledge allegiance.
One nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty for all.
Chief's gonna come. Right.
Corporal Robert Powell, please join me up here, sir. And Chief, if you would join him. Chief, I'll let you give a little background on Corporal Powell. Come on in, bro.
Yes, sir.
Lord have mercy. Help me out. Thank you, bro.
So the mayor has nominations each month for employee spotlights. All of our departments within the town do a wonderful job, and they're all noteworthy spotlight type moments. But this one particular incident that occurred last month was something that was not only noteworthy of being having a spotlight placed upon him, but also to be recognized amongst his peers and obviously our population in town. We were called at about 11:15 in the morning to a gentleman that was on top of the I-26 199 overpass that was under mental duress, and he was wanting to do harm to himself. It just so happens that Corporal Rao is on our crisis intervention team. He and another officer, their full-time job is to respond to crisis and mental issues with people within the town and help get them the help they need, make sure their medication and everything is being kept up with, and they're going to their visits like they're supposed to. We already had a couple of officers on the scene who had already shut down North Main Street, along with Berkeley County Sheriff's Office. We shut down the 199 to try to get traffic not flowing underneath it. But this gentleman, when Corporal Rao got on the scene, was absolutely on the edge of ending his own life, to the point where of all the ones I've seen in video, this was probably the closest save I've seen, to the point where he was actually pushing during the push off. Corporal Rao had got on scene, established a rapport with this gentleman, started talking to him, humanized his position by first name, and immediately started a dialogue with the man that was certainly at his wit's end. At the point that he was about to, and he was approaching him, asked if he can get closer, asked if he can get closer, he was literally getting ready to push off, and Corporal Rao grabbed him and brought him back onto the pavement and saved his life. We've had a lot of these close calls in the past. I think this is the closest I have seen, but without a doubt, this man would have ended his life had we not responded. And I think if Corporal Rao wasn't where he was at the time he was, with his background and expertise, that very well he would have ended the fatality. And so I just wanted to make sure he was nominated, and obviously he was selected. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely. Corporal Rao. Real quick, I just want to add to that, saying that the heart and soul of our public servants is reflected in that way, where people and compassion come first. And I'm so proud to recognize that.
Whereas parks and recreation are an essential part of communities throughout this country, including ours, providing places for health and wellness, community gathering, environmental stewardship, and enjoyment for people of all ages and abilities. And whereas parks and recreation programs and services contribute significantly to the quality of life in our neighborhoods, encouraging active lifestyles, preserving natural resources, and offering inclusive recreational opportunities. And whereas local parks and recreation areas promote physical, emotional, and mental well-being and serve as vital spaces for education, creativity, cultural enrichment, and social connection. And whereas the town of Somerville's parks and recreation professionals work tirelessly to ensure that public spaces are safe, accessible, and welcoming for everyone. Now therefore, Mayor Russ Hutchberry and the Somerville Town Council do hereby proclaim July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month and encourage all residents to explore the outdoors, enjoy their local parks, support recreational programs, and appreciate the dedicated individuals who help keep our communities active, healthy, and connected through parks and recreation.
We're going to say real quickly, this team is more than just Parks and Rec. If you've been around this town at the Flower Town Festival, if you've been around this town at Third Thursday, any event that goes on in the town of Somerville, these folks are behind and they do an excellent job. You'll see them out early in the morning and late at night. Thank you all for what you do. Yes, sir.
Next is approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for approval of items A, B, and C, the minutes of the town council meeting of June 12th, the special council meeting June 18th, standing committee meetings July 7th.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from approval of minutes, item C, standing committee, July 7th, since I wasn't absent.
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion and a second to approve with Councilwoman Johnson Wilson recusing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
For public comment for items on the July 10th agenda, Dickie Myler.
While Mr. Myler's coming up, I know we have a huge crowd here and we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you don't mind, if you don't have to use the full 3 minutes, feel free not to. If you can make your point in less time, we appreciate it. If someone has already stated something that you agree with, feel free at the end to raise your hand, showing your support. We don't want to make any noise, whether cheers or boos, because that can add time to the night. And if you are with a group and are able to consolidate who is speaking and the points you want to make over the course of time, that would really be appreciated by all of us so we can hear your voice, but also move the meeting expeditiously. So with that, Mr. Myler, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Town Council members. What a pleasure it is to be here. I'd like to start with a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts here tonight always be acceptable in thy sight, our God and our Redeemer. Amen. I'm here in opposition to changing the UDO to take 500 North Main Street out of the historic district. Why? I believe it's the greatest shill game I've ever seen in town politics. It was put in the historic district, then it was put in the TIF. Then it was taken out of the TIF, and they want to take it out of the historic district. I think we all know why. Before anybody was born and Councilman Brown was playing music at Vaughansville Wilson High School, this town was built on the tradition of great people and men and women who saw this town as the jewel of Low Country, a town that is unique in every which way. And therefore we have historic districts to preserve and protect those things which you council people have pledged your oath to preserve, to protect, and to promote this great town and what we stand for. As you will know, our great motto, sacred is the pine, the flower town in the pines. What happens right now is at a crossroads for us as a town and community to make the right decision. I know you people in politics, I think you already have the 4 votes, but let me say this. God can change your heart in a minute. and realize you can do the right thing if you look at why you want to put this in the design review board. Good people, honest people, men of integrity, women of integrity. But the bar has the teeth to protect, preserve, and let me read this. The BAR has the authority for all construction within the historic district for all historic properties, including modifications of existing buildings, demolition, construction, and the approval or denial of any permits to do such. The bar has teeth that can help us. And to try to run around that as like a school kid, not taking a hard math class, knowing he'll give, the teacher there will give homework. Do the right thing, stay the right course. Why? Because what happens at 500 North Main Street will determine the course of this great town. Believe me, it will. The chamber came out last week in a newspaper and said, doing nothing is not an option. You're exactly right. But doing the right thing is the best option. And there's enough genius, experience, intellect in this room, in this town, to do the right thing, to do something with that piece of property. Things like maybe moving the chamber office there, putting Dream there, putting the old museum over there, building the town library we've talked about over there, building the children's museum, then adding some spot retail work. There's so many things we can do to not burden the traffic, the pedestrian safety concerns we all have. It's an opportunity, my friends, that I hope at night you say, wow, we had a chance to do the right thing for this town to make Summerville, South Carolina continue to be the town that we love. And I pray our grandkids and great-grandkids will love as well. Please do not take it out
Thank you,
of the
Mr. Meyer.
our district. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from clapping. I see some good students out there raising their hand. Thank you so much.
Randy Sharpie, Tommy Fagan,
Good evening, Councilman. As I've spoke to y'all before, 500 North Main is one of the bookends of historic Somerville. You have the old hospital, have Hutchinson Square. In between's historic district, what we all grew up, I grew up here. Used to come down Short Central, shoot into the Piggly Wiggly to get groceries for Mama when she'd send me to town. So, you know, I've seen a lot of changes. All of them haven't been for the good. I guarantee you Mount Pleasant has reservations every day and wish they could take a lot of it back that they have done. Let's please don't turn Somerville into Mount Plastic or Nexton. We have a Nexton. There is a Mount Pleasant. I saw Mr. Touchberry on the news this afternoon, really worried about the historic district, speaking of Short Central. That's wonderful, but we got the other end of the street to worry about too, Mr. Touchberry. All we have, pine trees and azalea bushes. We don't have a beach. We don't got a river walk. This is our home. It's small. It's quaint, not so small anymore, but the historic district still gives that small town feel. It starts at 500 North Main and comes down to Hutchinson Square. Please, please use your better judgment and preserve what we have, because once it's gone, we'll never get it back. Thank y'all.
next, Fleming Moore.
Good evening, y'all. I don't envy any of y'all. I would like y'all to consider the precedent you'll be setting by removing something from the historic district. I'm not against progress. I understand the challenges of raising revenue and getting a good police department in place. This is going to be decided in the county what they want to do, but we don't even really have a clear picture of how the county came into possession of 500 North Main Street. And I can tell by the size of the crowd here, and I have 2 minutes and 12 seconds here, that this is an important issue. I haven't seen this place filled up like this. And I just found out about it by cruising through Facebook today. So that shows how uninformed I am. But I think until the county produces some kind of visual plan, I read that they've changed and they've added some more green space. I like numbers and plans. So I would hope that y'all, before you move this on to a second reading, would table it and be transparent. Let the public see what the plan is. I can't really shoot down something I don't know what it is, but I know this much. I didn't read anything about the property's legacy with Miss Springs, and that's even under question. I was at a county councilman, and David Chinnis says, "Oh, we got the property, da 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 da," and from some guy in Orangeburg, and then later on, when I finally get her last will and testimony, which I do have, is hard to read, but AI is doing a pretty good job of interpreting it. There's some discrepancy of whether her land was where the bank was or not. So I would like to know if it even has a connection to Catherine Springs. I could, it might not, but it's got enough historical significance that I think y'all understand the importance of it. And again, I will just say, taking something out of the historic district sets a bad precedent for the future. Thank you.
Hayward Hudson,
Please help me out by not cheering each time. Please. Thank you so much.
I think I was way down the line, so you pulled me out from 70, huh?
Mr. Hudson, you have your opportunity. That's what you came for.
I'm Hayward Hudson. I reside at 215 Golf Road in Somerville. I'm a native. I've been a property owner since 1960. I've been president of the Somerville Preservation Society for 38 years. I speak against removal of the old hospital from the historic district. Such action would be tantamount to demolition of most or possibly all of that beautiful historic building that means so much to so many people. It's the only piece of green space between I-26 and Hutchison Square. More importantly, we own it. We do not have to pay rent or interest on a mortgage. Although it is 88 years old, it has withstood the test of time and weather because it was built with the old Somerville brown bricks produced from local clay at the Salisbury Brickyard. This was a WPA project in 1937, the same year that the old post office or cultural center was built by the WPA. If the cultural center is worth keeping and using, doesn't it make sense to maintain and use 500 North Main for the public? The county claims that they have sprinkler, termite, and other issues with the building. But the cost of maintaining a building that we own would be far less than the cost of a new building that we would lease purchase over the next 30 years. I wonder what the Department of Government Efficiency would say about demolishing a perfectly good historic building. When demolition of the old hospital was supported in 1992 by 6 of 7 county councilmen, 3 new councilmen were elected to take office in January of 1993. Those 3 councilmen signed a letter indicating that when they took office, they would halt the project and determine whether or not to proceed. At the final county council meeting of 1992, County Bond Council attended and advised the council that they could not proceed with the project. The county could not sell the bonds because of the uncertainty of the decision of the new council. The new council, in fact, decided to build an addition on Cedar Street, replicating the facade of Main Street, thus saving the old hospital from the wrecking ball. In 2012, some county councilmen again entertained the notion of demolition and redevelopment of 500 North Main. The Somerville Preservation Society, with the support of the BAR, recommended to town council that the old hospital be included in the historic district to protect it. The council acted responsibly and favorably then. I hope that you will do the same tonight. Support and respect the BAR members' unanimous decision.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you.
Next, Deirdre Holzer.
Good evening. This goes. All right. My name is Deirdre Hulson, and I live on Congressional Boulevard in Pine Forest. We moved here 23 years ago. I haven't lived here all my life, but it was wonderful, wonderful, beautiful town. And I've seen nothing but building and building and building since we moved here. The traffic in town is unreal. Every time there's a spot of land, some builder comes in and starts building. Right on Berlin G and 78, there's so much on that property now that with all the apartments that are going to be in there, there'll be no place to move. Traffic is backed up all over. So I'm thinking about what is going to happen with more apartments, more condos on the property that used to be a hospital. So I think really should be taken into consideration the infrastructure, the roads. I mean, I know people my age don't want to go up to town. It used to be, well, maybe if you go up around 12 o'clock, you'd be able to miss the traffic. No more. There's traffic constantly. So I wish you would take into consideration not tearing down the hospital and putting in condos or whatever, more stores. It's so nice to have a town that has history. And this building is part of our history. Thank you.
Robert Poppleton.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, members of the community gathered. My name is Robert Poppleton. I'm here on behalf of the Furman Company. We've been working and engaged with Dorchester County at the effort around 500 North Main for the past 3 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. The Furman Company is a South Carolina-based development firm with 135 years of experience in community-focused projects. Our work is rooted in creating long-term positive impact, especially in places with deep history and strong identity. You could see why we were attracted to this community. We've led successful, sensitive redevelopment efforts across the state, and we bring the same level of care to Somerville. We admire your town, and we want to honor it with responsible development that is additive in your eyes. Public engagement on this project began well before our involvement under the leadership of Dorchester and County. We joined the effort and started to study that feedback, allowing it to inform our development planning. Since then, we've worked in close partnership with the county on a weekly basis. We've worked with town staff, planning staff, and we've gone through the BAR process, doing volunteer workshops in addition to the scheduled meetings. We've heard a lot of feedback, and we've allowed that feedback to have direct impact on the changes we've made to this development plan. We believe that sustainable plans, sustainable developments, require 360-degree involvement from all parties of the community. And that is why we are committed to continue to engage with the community if provided an opportunity to continue this process. The community has asked for thoughtful, forward-looking redevelopment, something that moves Somerville ahead while preserving the important historic elements of the property. We want to do that. Yes, there are important and passionate voices that must be heard and help shape this public discourse. We also know the broader community feedback, especially that gathered from the Chamber of Commerce survey recently, has been clear that we need to do something at this site that helps bring Somerville forward. We have heard and understand that people want connectivity to Hutchinson Square. We understand that there's desire for additional dining, green space, for gathering space, not necessarily for multifamily residential, but for boutique hotel. Our revised plan reflects this, reflects these priorities while honoring the site's historic significance. We're proud of where the plan is, but are eager to hear more feedback from this community. And we want your help in delivering this project that honors the past and serves Somerville's future. Thank you for your time.
Peter Gorman.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I wish to speak about just 4 items on tonight's agenda, but instead of coming up 4 times, I'll do in 3 minutes. Item 9A is a resolution that grants the town authority to double our bonded indebtedness from $43 million to $86 million to build a new public safety building. To complete this $63 million project, another $17.5 million must be raised by committing our capital improvement fund, now used to improve streets, parks, and sidewalks. It also requires the sale of public property and the commitment of many other tax resources. All of these funds will be committed to pay back the new bonds. What if we have another massive earthquake that destroyed Somerville 140 years ago? Such a massive commitment of taxpayer money for 30 years without public hearings or involvement is irresponsible. This reminds me of the Bill Collins done deal comment over the boutique hotel. Taxpayers who will pay for this project should be allowed the opportunity to vote on a bond referendum as an alternative. The next item that I want to talk about is item 9B, removal of the old hospital at 500 North Main from the historic district. The public has spoken in opposition to demolition of this cultural icon where generations of Somervillians were born and have died. Our Board of Architectural Review has opposed demolition. By approving this ordinance, you are undermining the thoughtful judgment and integrity of the very citizen boards that you appointed to protect the historic district. This is a very bad precedent. Moving on, next is item 9C, rezoning of 401 South Magnolia. I have a petition with 67 signatures of homeowners on the east side of the historic district, almost every household signed, opposing this rezoning. I will submit it for the record. The Planning Commission and your Planning and Development Committee has wisely recommended denial, and I urge you to do the same. Finally, you have a request from Police Chief Wright, item 10A, to purchase a package of high-tech crime prevention, protection, and judicial remedy from Motorola. We are seeing a decline in respect for the law evidenced by more frequent shootings, high-speed chases, assault, and burglary. This combined hardware and software package will protect not only the public, but our public safety officers as well. It is your highest duty to provide this protection to all of us. Thank you. And I will give this.
Jason Ward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. This evening, I want to talk with you about 500 North Main Street and really kind of provide an update on some things that have changed since we were last before the Board of Architectural Review with the Furman Company. Before the Board of Architectural Review, there were a number of concerns that were expressed about the preservation of the historic hospital at 500 North Main Street. And those concerns were heard. Those have resulted in a revised master plan. Those have resulted in a declaration of restrictive covenants for the preservation of the 2-story section of the historic hospital as well as the south wing of the facade. Additionally, there was a lot of concern expressed about having more green space and reducing the density of the development that had been planned there. As a result of that, the 160 units that had been planned of apartments, multifamily, have been removed, and that has been replaced with a 100-key boutique hotel. Additionally, in terms of preserving the importance of that site, we have gotten a designation for Meservey Square. And in addition to the Welcome Park, we are also making sure that we preserve the Veterans Monument, as well as create an additional portion there for veterans to be preserved. But I think beyond that, with Meservey Square and the Welcome Park, along with preserving and honoring the Medal of Honor winner, Christopher Solis, there with a statue, we're now able to provide 0.8 acres that will never be owned by anyone other than the public to really act as a bookend to Hutchinson Square. When we talk about the redevelopment of this property, we are talking about doing a few different things. One of those things is to provide additional retail on that particular site. One of those is to provide 9 brownstones again instead of 160 units of apartments, which we understood were things that really were objected to. We want to continue to hear the public. If you decide to remove this from the historic district and you put it in the purview of the Development Review Board. And throughout that process, we will continue to be committed to getting feedback from the public so that we can move forward with a project that we believe we can be proud of. It was mentioned that this would be quite a departure, but the reality of it is this was not something that was going to be captured for taxable value within the tax increment finance district. Removing it from the tax increment finance district actually allows other public improvements like streetscaping, additional monies to DD2 schools, and the potential for having affordable housing supported at other areas as a result of capturing these funds through a fee in lieu of tax agreement and multi-county industrial park.
Diane Frankenberger.
Good evening, you all. I just want to start right off by saying something that I really love. I love common sense, and I think I just heard it from Mr. Ward. Back in 1937, with not the done deal, but the New Deal, which I happen to think was a good deal, that hospital was built. There were a total of 130 of them built in the United States. It was for the purpose of employment. It was for the purpose of economic development, and it was for the common good. And I think it served its purpose. It ceased to be a hospital here in 1937. I think what is being proposed now is the best use of the property. I have a business downtown, and I always have to do a business plan in order to get loans or to actually get approval. I think what's being proposed is the best use of the property. It honors what it was, and it honors what we hope to have now. It's a good investment. Someone did mention that the Public Works building, which used to be the water company and used to be the post office, has been repurposed, and that is true. And but a group of citizens bought that and repurposed that, and it pays its own way. The hospital, you know, what you have plus what you need. I went over there and I looked at what was there, and it's hard to tell which is the front and which is the back. It was supposed to be a hospital, and that's what it was built for. But in the front, there is a little avenue of trees. There are 12 of them. 9 are diseased. There is a trash can. There are 5 benches. There are county service vehicles. And that, to me, is not a bookend of Somerville. It looks like undeveloped property. It almost looks like property that has been abandoned. Yep, there's a lot of traffic, but I would ask everybody, myself included, how many people drove here tonight on public transportation? And I bet the number is 0. So, yep, that's a problem, and we need to address it. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Here. Right. Michael Wood.
Members of Town Council, thank you for your time and service. I'm the immediate past chairman of the Greater Somerville Chamber Board. I'm the current chairman of the Chamber Foundation. And many of the Chamber Board members and staff are here to provide support for a balanced, thoughtful redevelopment plan of 500 North Main. I'm going to ask them to stand or raise their hand, whatever is more appropriate this time. Thank you all for being here. I want to focus on two topics that were identified as vitally important to the business and the greater community: an economic driver and a community benefit. Redeveloping 500 North Main brings long-term smart growth to Somerville. We already know people are coming here. The traffic has been addressed multiple times tonight already. The move enables the county to be more efficient with services to our residents and businesses. A boutique hotel and modern office space will attract visitors, entrepreneurs, and new businesses. This could increase foot traffic, decrease driving traffic, and boosting local spending. This kind of mixed-use development is an economic engine. It will infuse cash into our schools, tax base, and local economy. It is estimated to provide an additional $8 million in funding to DD2 schools, to supplement the $2 million from the TIF. And I may not have the TIF part right, but we'll talk about that later. Redevelopment makes this site a place that works for our community for decades to come. It will provide a blend of historic preservation and attractive amenities. It will provide much needed retail and hospitality amenities into the downtown area, and this will have a ripple effect across our county. Thank you.
Ms. Rita Berry.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and Mr. Slatton, and all in attendance this evening. I'm here to speak specifically about 500 North Main and infrastructure impact and smart growth. This is our chance to plan for future growth and not be overwhelmed by it. A balanced redevelopment plan now will reduce reactive infrastructure spending later. By integrating office space, retail, and amenities into this project, we will potentially reduce long commuting time and cut down on traffic flow across and out of town. Not to mention that this redevelopment is expected to provide additional funding so that that could go towards streetscaping and improvements to Main Street and Cedar Street corridors. Thoughtful housing opportunities help meet a critical need for those who live and work in our community. Giving people the opportunity to live and to work right here in Somerville eases congestion and supports local infrastructure needs. This means less traffic, more money staying local, and an opportunity for residents to get back their commute time to invest with other important areas of their lives, like spending more time with family, community impact work, etc. We support smart growth, purposeful, compact, and designed to meet both current and future demands. Similar to how Hutchinson Square was redeveloped with charm and character and has continued to meet the growing community needs. Can you now imagine what Somerville would be like without Hutchinson Square redeveloped today? Hutchinson Square is not only as beautiful, it was not always as beautiful as it is today, but it took thoughtful leadership coupled with vision and planning to give us the heart of the town that we so greatly cherish today. Our support of removing this property from the historic district does not at all mean that we wish for it to be demolished, but instead have the heart restored and repurposed for something that will serve our community in a meaningful and impactful way for generations to come. Thank you.
Chris Kaler.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Slatton. I'm Chris Kaler. I'm the 2025 Board Chair for the Somerville, Greater Somerville Dorchester Chamber of Commerce, and appreciate y'all having us here tonight. My focus will be on 500 North Main, specifically the first impressions, the gateway to the historic downtown, public green space, and the civic pride. With 500 North Main, you have the rare opportunity to enhance the gateway into our town, especially when you consider the project in conjunction with the proposed revitalization of North Main Street. This property can set the tone for welcoming residents, visitors, and future investors into the town. You have a chance to lead with excellence, turning an entire single-use block into a space that inspires community pride, includes green space and public uses, and preserves significant historic elements. Bringing the block back to life will draw in people, encourage investments, and reinforce Somerville's charm. In summary, from the chamber positions from Mr. Wood and Ms. Berry, doing nothing should not be an option. Action is required to meet the community's expectations for both preservation and progress. Preservation and thoughtful redevelopment can coexist. Redevelopment will bring significant economic benefits. These funds will support public improvements across the town, county, and the school district, enhancing schools, infrastructure, and the business climate and quality of life for all. Removing the building and property from the historic district is critical to enabling meaningful redevelopment while maintaining community character. So we hope that your ultimate vote on this issue is approval. Thank you very much.
Jim Gilstrap.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I live in Crestwood subdivision, and I'm here to address the proposed annexation and rezoning of 4.7 acres of land at the intersection of Crestwood Drive and Bacons Bridge Road. As I understand it, the rezoning is to put multi-family use apartment style residences at that intersection. And I ordered a report from the South Carolina Department of Public Safety on traffic accidents at that specific intersection. I used the parameters of Bacons Bridge Road, Crestwood Drive, and Ridge Road. Over the last 10 years, there have been 30 significant collisions, 8 serious injuries, and 2 fatalities. Now, over 10 years, 30 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that it's within a 50-foot radius of that intersection, that's significant. I also spoke with Trooper Ross of the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and he said that local agencies often do not report, or they handle the traffic accidents at a specific location without reporting it to the state agency. So that number is very low when you consider that. And I personally know of 2 accidents that occurred there that are not on this list. The 2 fatalities, one is Michael Hall, who is a motorcyclist driving on Bacons Ridge Road when a car pulled out in front of him from Crestwood and he lost his life. The other is Brandon Jarvis Mixer, who was a 16-year-old young man crossing from Ridge Road trying to get to his church when he was struck and killed in February of 2024. Now, if we put multifamily units at that intersection, you're looking at 30 to 40 more residences with multiple drivers. You're talking at least 50 to 60 more cars that would leave that intersection, and then those same 60 would come back. You're looking at 100 to 120 more vehicles trying to go through that intersection every day. So I would implore you to, if you want to annex the land, that's fine. But do not, please do not let it be used for multifamily use. Right now, I think the county has already rejected the proposal. That's why the developer is trying to get it annexed into the city of Somerville, so they can try to get the multifamily use. Right now, I believe it is 1/4 acre lots, single family. Let the developer build single family homes there. Put about 10 or 15 houses in there, but please do not allow the multifamily units. And I hope my comments don't get lost in all the other comments. Thank you.
Jim Healy.
Good evening. Again, I'm not here for North Main. I live in the historic district on 210 East Richardson. The zoning change for 401 Magnolia may not technically be considered spot zoning change, but for the historic district and other residential neighborhoods in the area, it'll lead to changing the dynamics of the historic district, allowing smaller lots, higher density,
and the franchising of the historic district for commercial gain from short-term rentals, and the loss of our community. As you can see by the turnout from the previous planning committee meeting and the standing committee meeting, there was a lot of support against the zoning change. And council, from those responses, you can, to the zoning change for 401 Magnolia, this is not what the historic district wants or needs. While you are concerned with the change of zoning, the zoning change to a GR5 would lead to potentially more short-term rentals, loss of homes for residents and neighbors, and change the core dynamics of our historic district, which is the reason many of us intentionally moved to the historic district. This is not what was envisioned for the historic district when it was placed on the National Historic Register in 1974. Allowing this rezoning to GR5 sets a far-reaching precedent for the spread of commercial gain from short-term rentals and other potential issues. Please consider what other communities are now facing with uncontrolled spread of short-term rentals and zoning changes close to home. As mentioned by others tonight, Park Circle, Mount Pleasant, Bluffton. Reading the newspaper will show that all growing communities are facing these issues created by the uncontrolled spread of short-term rentals and commercial creep, loss of homes, loss of neighborhoods, loss of community. We've also seen from ongoing issues with code enforcement and other short-term rentals in our historic district that the town of Somerville does not have the staff and infrastructure to support and monitor code enforcement with these short-term rentals, which will only get worse as we add more to the historic district. It has been the neighbors in the community within the historic district that have done the legwork to bring some of these infrastructure infractions and concerns of codes and rezoning to the town's attention. And we are the same neighbors that also pay our taxes and spend our money in this town. The Planning Commission, the Standing Committee have unanimously voted to deny this zoning change. That's what I ask of you tonight. Thank you very much.
Tim Pye.
Good afternoon, council. My name is Tim Pye. My wife is with me here, Rachel, one of my sons. We live on West Richardson, and we recently purchased the property at 401 South Magnolia. We purchased that property because we saw another opportunity to refurbish another downtown home. We are very passionate about the community, and we are pursuing this rezoning path because right now, currently, if you just look at the facts, which is not what was just stated, the facts are current zoning is GR2. GR2 allows for 2 ADUs. We're going to call them cottages right now. There is no limit on accessory structures to include garages, sheds, pool houses, and so on. Without a zoning change, and because we want to make the highest and best use of the vacant lot, basically that is behind the house, our only path right now is to build 2 cottages, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, full cottages on that property at roughly 900 to 1,000. 900 square feet to 1,000 square feet, along with a 2-car garage at roughly 600 square feet. We would have gravel drive and parking for those. We know that's not what the community necessarily wanted. So we pursued this path of getting it rezoned. The reason is so it would allow then for a single family dwelling to go on that lot. There's nothing sinister at play. All the concerns about short-term rentals would go away with no ADUs on the property. And so if you want to give the town people what they are asking for, GR5 is the path, and it's nothing to be afraid of, because the 2 lots would be 10,000 and 12,000 square feet. With GR5, the minimum lot size is 8,500 square feet. So it could not be further subdivided. There's no threat of townhomes going on there because of the way zoning is set up. you have to own the entire face of the block. So all of these fictitious threats that people are coming up with for ADUs on that, or some kind of, you know, over dense development is unfounded. And so the choices are simple. When you wake up 9 months from now, do you want 2 ADUs on that property, 2 cottages and a garage, or do you want a single family home? And GR5 is the only path for a single family home. Help the town people save themselves from themselves, rezone it GR5, and let's put a single family home down there. Thank you.
Shannon Sutton.
Good evening. I live at 404 South Magnolia, and I want to talk about 401 South Magnolia. And I just heard Mr. Pye talk about that there's nothing wrong with making that half-acre lot into a quarter-acre lot, but that is exactly what we don't want to have happen, along with his other plan too, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're not from here. We're not from South Carolina. We retired and picked Somerville because of the way it feels, the intangibleness of how wonderful it is. It was also equal distance from our aging parents, so we were able to get to both families pretty quickly. And we have a grandson in Atlanta, so we do have family nearby. But we picked Somerville because, and in the historic district, because it just is a strong community. We've already made many friends in our neighborhood that we consider even part of our extended family. Several are here tonight. We're not opposed to growth or even change. You know, my husband and I have lived actually in 3 different countries in many states because work has taken us to many places and we've seen all the versions, but we picked Somerville because of how it feels today. Now, you can't stop growth, but we do have a historic district and it should maintain the feel that it has now or take it out of being a historic district. People think shrinking a lot size would not change the feel of the place, but it absolutely would. It would also start this snowballing effect of everybody, you know, being able to do GR5, and you start losing those half-acre lots into quarter acres and increasing density. We own a 175-year-old house, and there's a stewardship with that. And we often sit on our porch and we talk about the future family that's going to live in our house. It's past us. It's the next generation that we talk about. The things we do to that property, the choices that we make is about the next family that lives there after we're gone. And we just hope that the feel of Somerville is there for them as much as it has been for us. Thank you.
Tom Stanford.
My name is Thomas Stanford, and I live at 404 South Magnolia. Sorry, it's very nervous wracking for me. I'm not good at addressing large groups of people. And so I want to thank all of you for taking the time out to listen to me hem and haw ahead of time. Anyway, I had some prepared comments and I'm going to insert a new one. Mr. Pye was wrong about one thing. It is the Arabs have Bedouins have a saying about the nose of a camel. Once you let a nose of a camel into your tent, you have all camel and no tent. And that's what concerns us the most about the rezoning. Rezone 1, then the next time the property comes up, they can say, well, you did it over there. Why can't you do it over here? Anyway, and I wanted to add to what's already been said, that when the property was purchased, the rules in that area were known. It shouldn't have come as a surprise since Tim has lived here, well, I think all his life. Yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to add to this is, I hate doing this, because he's cashing in on a name, and that always bothers me. But my dad founded a museum in New York City called South Street Seaport Museum. So I'm very familiar with how hard it is to keep historic stuff alive. And when you start to it's a slippery slope, right? Once you start changing the rules, you can't get it back again. And I'm speaking strictly about the historic district, but it could apply to the North Main Street property as well. It's gone. He was into maritime preservation. And when the clipper ships fall apart and sink, they're gone forever. You can try to rebuild them, but it's not the same feel. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Randy Sadler.
Hi. My wife and I have lived in Newington Plantation for 33 years. It's a special neighborhood. We raised our family here. My son and his wife have bought a home here in the neighborhood, and my grandkids will grow up in the same neighborhood my son grew up in. Community-based design has helped Newington preserve its appeal and its value. In Newington, the main street is called King Charles, circles the whole neighborhood. In the middle of the neighborhood is a historic marker marking the 1680 historic mansion site. After the first 80 homes were built in Newington back in the 70s, new developers took over and staying true to the original plan for single-family homes, they bought the 4-acre lot that we're talking about on the agenda. And they bought it to build homes. Unfortunately, one of the partners died in 1980 and the parcel was locked up in probate, and it stayed locked up for 30 years. When they finally got the legal claims, now they're pursuing a change to the original plan to put single-family homes on that plot. Next to this plot, a home just sold for $700,000, a single-family home. So using this parcel for single-family homes would not only be consistent with the character of the community, it would also be profitable for the owners. Putting what will become a 12-acre apartment complex here could really make things chaotic due to the schools and the location of the Newington entrance. In a recent article about Somerville's rapid growth, the Journal Scene editor said, "We can't stop change, but we can shape it." I could not agree more. This proposal is a terrible fit for this location. Newington residents agree it's a bad idea. Every member of the HOA board agrees it's a bad idea. All voters on the planning commission agree it's a bad idea. And I certainly hope that our town council will agree also. This proposal is simply a bad idea. Thanks.
Ben Huff.
Greetings. I had prepared notes here for tonight, mainly about what Mr. Sadler just spoke about, which is the rezoning for that parcel on King Charles and Luton, which is the same community I live in. But there's been there's going to be a lot of comments from the Newington residents, and there's already been a lot of comments from the 500 North Main Street zoning part of tonight's voting. And so I'm going to go off my notes here and actually try to compare and contrast these two different things that are before council. First of all, I'm going to mention that I agree with Mr. Sadler and the part about the zoning request at King Charles and Luton for these rezoning to multifamily units. This is not in character with this area, but I've been to a lot of zoning meetings. I've been to a lot of town council meetings, and I've heard a lot of these debates about zoning in the town of Somerville. And the biggest, and I would say the number one issue is always coming down to the traffic. This development is going to cause more traffic in my neighborhood. Typically, obviously, is where the zoning is happening, the people who live around it. That is obviously a concern for the Newington folks. We recently just had the Berlin G. Meyer Parkway open up next to us. Goes right along the border of our neighborhood. It has increased traffic in our neighborhood. It has exacerbated the dangerous driving habits in our neighborhood. And now there's a zoning request to add more housing next to our neighborhood that would add more traffic. And so now I want to compare and contrast, well, where should we zone and do rezoning in multifamily housing? And let's talk about 500 North Main Street. I think Miss Diane Frankenberger back there, who I admire greatly, and I've listened to her for many decades over here since I've lived in Somerville for 20 plus years. I agree with her wholeheartedly about her opinions on 500 North Main and some of the others, and that where we need to put multifamily housing is and mixed use development. We need more housing in this town, and it needs to go in an area like 500 North Main. I agree with the reasons she gave, and that would help solve traffic. Some of the facts these people have pointed out about traffic is that, well, we can't stop development, but we can be smart about the development. It's not smart to rezone this property near Newington for all this increased housing, but it would be smart to add more residential in the town, especially near the downtown of Somerville. And mixed use is a smart growth type of rezoning, and what this new idea is for. I've looked at the plans and I wholeheartedly approve of that. So if we want to get rid of all the traffic, well, we have to think of ways to grow and add housing that can reduce that. The zoning part of North Main, I think, would help with that. Thank you much.
Kevin Carroll.
It's tough being short. You always have to pull these down. May I touch free members of the town council? Good evening. Kevin Carroll, Thames Avenue, Newington Gardens. Some of us are town, but it's a town made up of a large group of individual neighborhoods, communities, each with their own history, charm, and characteristics. Tonight, you have a zoning change to allow a 184-unit apartment complex on 11 acres in Newington, a long-standing community of 550 single homes. Newington's been adversely impacted by the Berlin G. SCDOD didn't put any noise abatement, so we get all the noise. We can hear all your cars going by. Every time you go by, we hear you. And it's now dropping all those cars off into Newington because the GPS says it's the quick way to Bacon's Bridge. So we get a lot more traffic all the time. Newington is 100% car dependent. You can't get anywhere in or out of Newington or get anything without a car. Shopping, retail, medical visits at church, you have to drive. 184 units will add about 400 cars. Everybody has a car. Anybody over 16 is going to have a car. The corner of Loudon and King Charles is already a tough intersection. We have 2 elementary schools, and there are about 1,000 cars every morning and every afternoon, and they gridlock that whole section. So we don't need any more traffic there. The 184 acres would be built on 11 acres, which now have trees and vegetation. They absorb the runoff. 11 acres is 9 football fields. Picture that. Now it's all hot top. Now it rains, and it's a nice big slope down to the sawmill. Nobody told the Corps of Engineers they were going to do this when the Corps of Engineers set up their whole plan for the sawmill. So I don't think all this water running to the sawmill is going to be able to handle it because it wasn't a thought process back then. May I touch for you in your opinion piece in the June 18th article of the Journal Scene you wrote? The bottom line of Somerville's vision plan is to raise our community's living standards and to improve our citizens' quality of life over the next 15 years. Mr. Mayor, this is a quality of life issue. This apartment complex is in no way going to improve our quality of life. Be advised, this is not just a Newington issue. We've heard from a lot of other communities and neighborhoods in Somerville, and they're watching to see how you decide on this, and will their community be the next one on the list for such developments for enhanced tax revenue? Long-term Somerville residents are watching to see if you take their side to protect their long-established communities or allow a developer to come in, build something like this 3-story apartment complex, and irrevocably destroy it. So please do the right thing for Somerville. Please vote no on the zoning petition tonight. Thank you.
Jean Brislin.
Mayor Touchberry, council people, persons, thanks for hearing me out. I'm here to speak on the annexation and the planned development at the Loudoun and King Charles intersection that Kevin just spoke about. I've lived in Newington for 30 years. Not against the annexation. I'm an engineer. I'm in development. I make a living doing that, so I'm not really against the annexation. What I am against, though, is the development plan. Newington as a neighborhood is zone GR5. As Mr. Sadler mentioned, that piece of property was originally going to be in Newington, but because of circumstances didn't. The best fit for that, in my opinion, is to be GR5. There is a piece of property behind that that is already zoned multifamily, has 7 clear acres on it. It does have wetlands, but there are 7 clear acres. If you take a building, I took a commercial design review board building recently that was 10,000 square feet. 5 buildings is 50,000, add 50,000 for parking lots. 7 acres is 300,000. So they surely could create a nice multifamily development on that existing property. But now they want the 4 acres in front on King Charles Circle. Mr. Jackson, during the standing committee meeting, made a comment about, well, if we don't develop it, the county will get it and they'll develop it. And I don't take that. I don't think that's a great tactic. I think development will come. You don't buy the first bid you get. The other thing, Mr. Halter made a comment about the Planning Commission voted 0 to 5. I know that's a citizen committee that's required by law, the state law, for us to have, but we ought to listen to that citizen committee because they are a thermometer for what the public thinks. Why doesn't it fit? 3 things: height, density, and traffic. The height issue came up with the Cedar Street development, right? Height sensitivity all of a sudden now has become an issue. Downtown, that's zone NMX, right? Neighborhood mixed use. And that height decision was made when we adopted the UDO. This height decision is not, right? Right now, it's if it was to be zone GR5, it would be 36 feet. Multifamily gives them 55 feet. There are 2 multifamily developments across the street, but both of them are 2-story, one of them are 1-story, and one's low-income housing. So they're not nearly the height. The other is density. Newington, because of the schools, gets the same 50,000, 250,000 argument the mayor makes about the area of Somerville, right? The density of our neighborhood is increased by those 2 schools. As Mr. Carroll mentioned, those people come and go. So the density in our neighborhood is actually higher than the 520 some houses. Traffic, where they plan to exit is the entrance to Flowertown. So every morning where they're planning to exit on Loudoun and King Charles. One of those is where the Flowertown entrance is. So those are the 3 things that are a problem. It just doesn't fit there. It's not a good fit. Thank you very much for your time.
Larry Collette.
Good evening. My name is Larry Collette, and I'm the HOA president of Newington Plantation Estates. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak tonight. I want you to close your eyes for a minute and imagine a sunny Saturday afternoon in Newington Plantation. Little Dorothy and her friend Maggie are riding their bikes to the playground, enjoying the safety and peace of our neighborhood. Be careful. Remember what happened a few weeks ago, Dorothy's mom calls out. Yes, Mom, I remember, Dorothy shouts back. She doesn't look back, just keeps riding, giggling as they round the curve near King Charles Circle. Then it happens. A car approaches the bend too fast. The driver loses control. The vehicle crosses the center line and spins out, striking the girls. Their bikes go flying, so do they. A neighbor on her porch sees it and runs across the street. She gasps, it's Dorothy, and calls her mother. Moments later, Dorothy's mom arrives. She falls beside her daughter, crying, praying, pleading. This story is fictional, but the danger is real. That curve is real. The traffic is real. This is what happens when safety is taken for granted. This is what happens when traffic overwhelms neighborhoods that weren't built for it. Now imagine this neighborhood in your neighborhood, or imagine this development in your neighborhood. Imagine that traffic in front of your home. Imagine this accident happening to your child or grandchild. Would you think this is just about zoning? Now picture hundreds more cars a day with a 180-unit apartment complex at our entrance. Even our town's comprehensive plan warns against this. Page 13 urges us to preserve established neighborhoods and promote appropriate reinvestment. Newington Plantation is one of them. It also encourages infill development that takes advantage of existing infrastructure over premature, unplanned development of unimproved areas. That is what this is. That same page says to promote context-sensitive development that does not adversely impact the character or quality of life of surrounding areas. This threatens both. And page 12 promises growth through a fiscally responsible growth pattern that avoids overextension of services and protects the community. This is not that. So I ask you, please honor that vision, respect the comprehensive plan, and vote no to this request. Let's protect our families, our children, and our community. Thank you.
Chad Doherty.
Good evening, Mayor Tushberry, Councilman. I'm Chad Doherty, Superintendent here at DD2 Schools, and I'm here to express serious concern regarding proposed 184-unit apartment complex to be developed at King Charles directly in front of our two schools, Fowlertown Elementary and Newington Elementary, which sits directly within the central traffic corridor that already experiences significant congestion during peak school offers. We already have issues currently right now. Our district serves approximately 1,500 students within the two schools, and we operate about 26 school buses each day. And also that includes parent drop-off from our parents during the mornings and afternoon dismissal. This proposed development is situated in what is effectively a traffic choke point for our school community. Any increase in volume, particularly during the morning and afternoon hours, has the potential to severely disrupt school transportation, operations, and community members trying to get to and from work. Moreover, nearly 8% of our students walk or ride a bike to school through this corridor. Increased vehicle traffic without proper mitigation raises serious safety concerns for these children. We are deeply concerned with that, and without careful planning, the added pressure on this already strained thoroughfare could result in elevated risk for both vehicle accidents and pedestrian injury. So given these concerns, we respectfully request the following information. What specific traffic impact studies have been conducted by the city or developer to assess school-related congestion? What plans or commitments exist to improve infrastructure, road widening, traffic signals, crosswalk enhancements, bike lanes to accommodate the increased traffic volume? What safety measures will be implemented to protect students who walk or bike, particularly during school commuting hours? So while we understand the need for responsible housing development in our county, we urge the councilman to please prioritize the student safety, ensure that development decisions are aligned with the operational realities of our schools. So thanks so much. Thank you.
Ed Kirsch.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My family and I moved to South Carolina 8 years ago, and we bought the last undeveloped lot in Newington within the HOA. And the main reason that we picked the neighborhood is for the way that it is now. What I'd like to unpack is just building upon one of the topics that was brought up. Town staff recommended to approve this petition based on alignment with the comprehensive plan. So I brought the comprehensive plan with me. I want to unpack that a little bit. The land use development plan specifically is I'd like to share the objectives from that. So let me read a couple objectives from the land use development plan. Preserve established neighborhoods in the town. Ensure land use compatibility and provide adequate buffering and screening between existing and compatible land use arrangements. Require new developments to match the established character of the surrounding community. Utilize the future land use plan and balance the ratio of residential to business development in the town. And lastly, identify and preserve natural and environmentally sensitive areas. Several action items came out of the overall comprehensive plan. In the land use development plan, there's a color-coded map It's public information. Everyone can access it. In Newington, the future land use plan for Newington is color coded single family and mixed single family. So that's attached and detached single family. What's not in Newington is multifamily. Multifamily is on Trolley Road. It's on Trolley Road and Dorchester Road, and it's downtown Somerville. And these are recommendations that were put together by town staff and whoever they engaged. A couple of action items that came out of the comprehensive plan. Number one, multifamily should be built downtown Somerville. Action item number 17, multifamily should be built on Old Trolley Road in the commercial corridor. Action item number 18, multifamily should be selectively built at the intersection of Old Trolley and Dorchester. All right. Action item number 81, duplexes, townhouses, and multifamily apartments, condominium, senior housing should be considered in all residential land uses areas on a case-by-case basis, assuming that they can be integrated and preserve the character of the given neighborhood. I would love to hear the sales pitch of how a 3-story, 180-unit multifamily development that's dumping out 33% more traffic than is already there preserves the character of Newington Plantation. Thank you.
Greg Schuler.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Slatton, how are you? What an awesome way to start tonight with recognition of Corporal Rowe by Chief Wright. And I want to say publicly what an extraordinary police force this town has. Fire and first responders too. Thank you. I want to share my thoughts, most of which you've already heard. As a homeowner, 30 years of Newington subdivision. My wife and I purchased our home in Newington because of the community. We wanted to raise our daughters in a neighborhood with single family homes, and they attended Newington Elementary School. We continue to live in Newington because the homeowners have a vested and personal interest in keeping our neighborhood attractive and, most important, safe. Apartments within a finite area fronting a corridor with already heavy traffic makes little common sense to me. I'm not opposed to apartments, by the way. Part of my day job is financing real estate and other investments like this, just not here. I believe that anyone who has an interest in the question of what's next for this property has the burden of responsibility to make the best decision they can. That means having all the facts. I believe that you all as decision makers should, if you haven't already, stand at the corner of Loudon and King Charles Circle on a weekday morning when school is in session and watch what goes on. Cars, school buses, bicycle riders, golf carts, and parents with young children crossing streets and sidewalks to and from both schools make for a chaotic window of time, whether you're in the safety of a car or you're walking. We've already heard Loudon ends up in the direct driveway going into Flowertown Elementary School. I can't imagine how that'd be impacted by 180-unit apartment project. Fortunately, it all works because of the Somerville Police Department. That makes it work. My point in this is to say that if you personally have not stood at this corner on a weekday school morning or afternoon, I don't believe you have all the facts to make the best decision you can to endorse change, because you won't have all those facts. What you see in your mind's eye is crucial. And if you haven't seen it, my belief is that you could be making an uninformed decision. My challenge to you is to go look. Of course, you'll have to wait till school is in session. Thank you.
Frank Freeman.
Mayor Tewksbury, members of the council. My name is Frank Freeman. I live at 108 King Charles Circle in Newington. And a few years ago, there was a hurricane coming down to South Carolina, or coming up to South Carolina. And the emergency notices went out that said, you've got to evacuate. And I went to the map. Now, I was supposed to evacuate, but my neighbor across the street wasn't. His property is just a little bit higher than mine. But when I went and looked at the property map again and compared it with what is in proposed for these development, this corner, everything that is about to be developed is in the floodplain. It is in the evacuation plan. Now, zoning is one thing. Moving and rising water is another thing. And if that doesn't get your attention, go talk to the people of Kerrville, Texas, along the Guadalupe River. I would not want to live in anything that is built beyond the outside of King Charles Circle there at that point. Thank you.
Victoria Merritt.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and the Somerville community. My name is Victoria Merritt, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. I grew up in this neighborhood, this very one we're discussing tonight. As a child, I rode my bike to school, to the neighborhood pool, and up and down these quiet streets with my friends. It was the kind of childhood that you desire for your own family. And now I'm back living here in Newington with my 3 beautiful children in the same community that shaped me. I'm proud to serve as the head coach of the Newington swim team as well, and I care deeply about preserving the quality of life that makes this neighborhood so special. That's why I'm here to express my strong concerns about the proposed annexation and multifamily development. Anyone who's driven through the area during school pickup hours knows just how severe the traffic backups are. Cars are lined up for blocks and wait times stretch into hours. This isn't an occasional inconvenience. It's a daily reality for the families who live here. Additionally, as a longtime teacher who served on the teacher forum as a former Dorchester District True Teacher of the Year, I can attest to the fact that our schools are overcrowded, and adding additional multifamily housing will increase already large class sizes. Anyone can state today that these apartments can be for young professionals and retirees, but the reality is that these apartments will be highly sought after by families as they are located directly across the street from 2 elementary schools, which will lead to, you guessed it, more traffic. Now that Berlin G Connector has been complete, the cut-through traffic from commercial vehicles and speeders only makes it worse, creating a dangerous environment for children, bikers, and pedestrians. Oh, and did you know that Newington has some of the only hills in the area? So at least 4 different high school cross-country teams train throughout the neighborhood. In fact, I saw these young runners, 7th to 12th grade, running past my house around 7:30 this morning. What a great opportunity for a safe environment for them. We've seen 18-wheelers driving recently through Newington, and as you can imagine, the quiet streets I grew up riding my bike on no longer feel safe for my own children. This proposal is a large-scale apartment complex to be built in the Newington subdivision. Let me be clear. There are apartments on streets outside of the neighborhood, but this complex will be built on land inside of our subdivision. Introducing a large-scale apartment complex into this fragile balance will only worsen this congestion. More cars, more commuters, and the infrastructure simply cannot support it. This is not about resisting growth. It's about responsible planning that respects the limits and character of our community. We are not prepared to absorb this kind of density without significantly harming the very fabric of our neighborhood. Please consider the lived reality of those of us who are here every day trying to raise our families in a safe and stable environment. Additionally, there is a petition that went up against this, and it was signed by over 1,300 registered voters. Thank you for your time this evening.
Zachary Hamilton.
Thank you. I also live in Newington, and I've been watching a lot of the development around Somerville, and I find a lot of the rationale for more high-density housing to be disingenuous. It will strain our already taxed infrastructure and does more harm than good. The phrase, "if you build it, they will come," should be a warning, not a plan, and we should stop trying to cram people into every nook and cranny. I moved to Somerville in 2011, partly because it was a town, not a metropolis. My house was a fixer-upper, but I have made incremental improvements and raised its value. That is now in jeopardy because the new apartment complex will be unavoidably visible from my front windows, and that lowers my property value. Cynically, I have to wonder if this is about tax revenue and not about what is best for Somerville. So respectfully, prove me wrong. Prove to us that you not only care about the future of Somerville, but also the quality of life for those of us who live here now. Prove that you aren't just chasing tax revenue or will be seduced by the offer of a free parking lot for the Sawmill Branch Trail. This development would not be appropriate for the infrastructure limits of the neighborhood roads. And we shouldn't pretend that the neighborhood won't be used as a cut through. It was a cut through even before the Berlin G expansion, and it has gotten worse since the expansion. And when if the apartment complex is built, it will make it worse still. It is unwise to build a 3-story, 184-unit apartment complex in a middle-class neighborhood so close to 2 schools at the corner of one road that is overburdened and another where the segment of usable road is dangerously short. Prove to us that you can govern wisely. I ask that this proposal be denied. Thank you.
Next, I have Justin, who has signed up for the Newington rezoning topic. I'm sorry, I can't read your last name. Okay.
It's Gothi. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hearing us out this evening. I also live in Newington at 100 King Charles Court. I agree with everything everybody else has already said, but I just wanted to point one thing out. I loved Mr. Collette's story, thought it was great. And you might be tempted to brush that off as just a story. But we did have, in that house that Mr. Sadler brought up, that $700,000 house just a few weeks ago, had a car run into one of his trees because it came around that corner, running 1,000 miles an hour, lost control, and they had to winch it out of his yard to get it out of there. So the safety risk is real. It's not overwrought. It's not hyperbole. It's something that we all deal with. The traffic that's been brought to the neighborhood from the Berlin G is also real. Thank goodness for Google Maps. It sends every tractor trailer looking to cut from the Berlin G to Bacon's Bridge our way. I see them when I'm out on my runs. And, I'd like to think I'm smart enough to get out the way of a tractor trailer. I just hope he's smart enough to get out the way of my children and others that might be using the sidewalks and the streets of the neighborhood. So, I also would like to recommend that you all vote not to rezone that land as multifamily. Please keep it, single family residence like the rest of the neighborhood. I think that would add to our quality of life and, allow for the developers to also make a profit. Thanks.
John Batson.
Hello, yes. Hello, yes. My name is John Batson. I live at 107 Blake Drive in Newington. My main concern with the new apartment complex, it's already been overstated, the extra burden it puts on that particular neighborhood. Also, look at your one of the reasons it would just add to the nightmare that we have already. Just with the new apartment complexes and developments that's coming on Berlin G. Myers. Okay, with traffic, we have a 4-lane road going into a 1-lane turn there at the corner of Berlin G and Main Street. That 4-lane worth of traffic is trying to go into 1 lane to make that turn. It took me close to 45 minutes to almost an hour the other day during regular rush hour just to get to Walmart from Newington. Okay, and then the other times it's been roughly takes 30 minutes just to get from Newington to in town in the main area, say in Hutchinson Square or like to Azalea shopping center. So that one would actually add more that's already been added now. So we need to hold off a little bit on these big developments. All right, thank you. Bye.
Yaden Smith.
Mr. Mayor and council members, it was May 9th. I was sitting in my home office when my 10-year-old daughter, Eleanor, burst in. Now I have a rule, don't interrupt me when I'm working unless somebody's bleeding, something's on fire, or it's a legitimate emergency. She burst into my office in hysterics because she'd heard this crazy loud noises. Honestly, she thought somebody was shooting weapons, attacking somebody, but no, it was the car wreck that's been mentioned. 30 minutes after my daughter got home from school, a car speeding through the neighborhood crossed over the double yellow, trying to pass somebody because they were going through the neighborhood. There was another car coming around the curve. They switched back into the right-hand lane, clipped the car, ended up in the trees. I've been passed on that road 5-6 times. I live at 73 King Charles Circle. Earlier today, I was up at an apartment complex that I own in Monk's Corner. I love apartments. I did some rough math. This is probably going to be $37 million value project based on my assumptions of what the rent is going to be. I love apartments, but having 180 units right there, I'm terrified that Larry's fictitious story will not be fictitious. I would ask you to deny the rezoning application for this land. Thank you.
Andy Smith and Jamie Williams.
Mayor, council, thank you all for your time. Andy's prepared some site plans and things of that nature that shows some important things. If you could hand those out, Andy, that'd be great. So, first of all, there's a lot of misconceptions. We have to go through a traffic study that DOT will determine what needs to be there. If they require a light, they require turning lanes, we have to do those things. Secondly, I heard the term that we're using 13 acres. If you look at the second drawing you got, our proposed is 8.17 acres. Thirdly, I'd like to point out that we are planning to donate 23 to 25 acres roughly, and you'll see that on the second portion, to the town for Parks and Rec. Also adding additional parking that we're taking care of on the Greenway that is needed. As far as the impact on schools, well, we're going to pay $1 million in impact fees before we ever break ground, which we won't have our first resident for likely 4 years from now. So, yeah, do I agree? Maybe you have a traffic problem currently? Yeah. Well, we're not going to hurt that traffic problem because DOT is going to require us to do certain things by law. So it's also proposed 180 units, not 184. And we're going to have to go through DRB.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your order. Thank you.
We're going to have to go through several review boards before this ever gets approved. We've got a long permitting period. And just, oh, by the way, the site that's in the town of Somerville is already zoned multifamily. We're not asking for a rezoning. We're asking for an annexation that matches the current zoning. So I think it's important to reconsider, not only the economic impact, but the need for homes. There are people moving here. Everybody that got up here said, oh, I moved here some time ago, except one person, and he was talking about 500 Main. Everybody moves places, and unfortunately, you have to adjust for it. And traffic is not an issue just isolated to Newington Plantation or the town of Somerville. It's an issue for entire Charleston that will have to be addressed. So, but the school impact also, I'll say it again, we have very few children as a general rule living in our properties. We would like those people at our properties to be transitional and move into Newington.
Thank you for your comments.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I just have one more public comment for items on the July 10th agenda, and it's actually one that was emailed to me, if I may. Okay. This is from Christopher McClure. Oh, let me start the timer on myself. Okay. I'm in support of the housing development proposed over by Loudon Drive and the Sawmill Branch Trail. While I personally would love to live in a development like this, I also believe it represents the smart growth and development that is important to addressing housing shortages in our area, especially with apartments and multifamily housing. First, I'll put forward the positive argument in favor of the development. The newly created Berlin G. Myers Parkway Phase 3, traffic will be directed primarily to the parkway through Loudon Drive rather than through the neighborhood. Being directly in walking distance to nearby schools will allow for students and parents to avoid the car rider lines entirely. I'm sure the schools would also benefit greatly from the increased revenue that property taxes would bring, while also not contributing to traffic congestion in the mornings. Being by the Sawmill Branch Trail will also give families the ability to utilize the trail as a method of transportation by walking or biking. This would further allow the trail to be used as a measure to reduce the impact of traffic congestion in the area. The comments and arguments made at the Planning Commission meeting were at best misconceptions and at worst seem motivated in their reasoning, and appalling to hear the disdain and contempt for renters, apartments, and multifamily residents of this town. Unfortunately, I am too busy working downtown and getting home at 7 p.m. every day to have my voice heard as often as I'd like, but I try to represent the 20s to 40s demographic that make up the majority of Somerville. It's beyond disheartening the more I listen to the Planning Commission meetings and the same copy and pasted arguments made against any development that apparently renters and future home buyers needing for places to live are not valued as much as existing homeowners wanting higher and higher property values. As you already know, our homeless population is increasing due to rising rents, and young adults and professionals like myself are being pushed out to areas outside of our communities, no matter if you are a local or not. At age 27, being someone who went to Austin Middle School, Somerville High School, Charleston Southern University, I chose to lay down my roots here in Somerville, despite the fact that I work in downtown Charleston. Slowly, my age group is being priced out and our needs are not being addressed. Thank you for your time. That's all I have for the first public comment section.
Thank you, ma'am. For items on the agenda. I know the pages got mixed up.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk,
Mr. Quist, you just had Somerville Development, so I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
Mr. Quist, come right up, sir. You'll get your 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Adrian Quist, and I live in Somerville for 60 years. I'm going to be very bold tonight, so if the shoe fits, you all will have to wear it. For the last 25 years, development in Somerville has been out of control, and it continues at the expense of its citizens' quality of life. Prior to every election period, one of the topics is always about solving the traffic problems. Improvements have been made, however, developments, good and bad, keep happening, and solving the traffic issues continue to get worse for everyone, especially for our first responders trying to do their jobs. Trees are being cut and cleared in just about every nook and corner by developers due to lack of control and changing some of the rules and regulations that we currently have. We are being surrounded by apartment complex housing industry, and there seems to be no regard for the character and uniqueness of this town. Why do we bother to have a historical district, a preservation society, and a unified development ordinance if you don't enforce them and keep and change the rules? In regard to the old hospital building, why not consider to convert it into a multi-business center as they did with the old cigar factory in Charleston? Keep it in historic district and gain revenue from the businesses. From my perspective, it is important to have some serious conversations between Dorchester, Berkeley, and Charleston counties due to all these developments that are taking place. We have lost and will continue to lose treasures of the past unless this council and county council change its course of action. I know you have a challenging job to do, but it's past high time to stand up to Somerville citizens and deny over-the-top developments. It should not be about money, but unfortunately it is. A typical example is the 180 apartments being proposed in the Newington neighborhood. You as a council should listen to their concerns and oppose what the developers are telling you. 180 apartments. We as citizens should not have to sit here to fight City Hall. All we are asking this council and county council
Thank you, Mr.
for
Quist.
protection,
Thank you, sir.
preservation, and
Mr.
problem
Quist.
solving, not creative.
Mr. Quist. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I actually have two more. I'm sorry. Mike Streckert.
Mayor, council members, I'm the second vice president of Somerville Preservation Society and a retired architect. Well, I'd like to think that speaking to you this evening with some profound words would change your upcoming decision on 500 North Main. The rapid action by the subcommittee on Tuesday leads me to think that may not be the case. Sadly, the original Dorchester County Hospital, one of only two WPA hospitals in town, or one of only two WA projects in town, will soon go the way of the other two WAPA hospitals in the state. Gone. It'll be nothing more than a facade in every sense of the word. In fact, WPA built 130 hospitals since 1925, and only 9 have been demolished. As you know, this has been a long uphill battle for the town's preservationists. While it seems to look like we may have lost the battle, I'd like to point out a few things. First, 500 North Main in December of 2022 was a 5-story parking deck, 245 unit multifamily, 4-story hotel, 2 office buildings with a complete demolition of the hospital building and most of the green space. Removing that from the historic district removes it from the BAR and removes any design limitations on the site at all. Secondly, I found the Chamber of Commerce survey results very interesting. I was disappointed to see the reference to the old hospital building with no mention of it being historic. Well, the option for an iconic boutique hotel that is quintessential Somerville seemed to paint quite an idyllic mental image. Despite that, the results were very enlightening from a historic preservation perspective. The 3 survey questions were identical and designed to provide 3 choices rather than one single answer. Let's look at the aggregate results. The results, the chamber indicated that 60% of respondents want an appropriate level of preservation. Option 1, to save the entire hospital building, was 60%. The green space option was 57%, and honor the architecture was 53%. Interesting side note, that boutique hotel, 21%. Question 4 on what to do with the old hospital, 62% said to preserve it. Preservation is alive and well in Somerville, and Preservation Society is looking forward to spearheading this effort, as well as working with the planning department and council on new initiatives to maintain our rich history and character for future generations. Interestingly, the county placed a preservation facade easement on this site. To my knowledge, this is the first ever easement of its kind within the town and hopefully a precedent for future solutions. But the easement is for a facade only, meaning only select exterior walls. Please keep it in the historic district.
Thank you.
And finally, Jessica and Michael Capadonia. All right, now, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment. Right. Under petitions, item A, petition.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I would just like to vote right now for a denial of petition A for Loudon Drive in King Charles, thus saving Ms. Meservey of reading this entire thing.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second for denial on item 7A without reading. Any discussion, council members?
I'd like to ask, have we talked to the developer or do we know what the plans will be for the existing 32.78 acres if they do not get annexed with the current property, but that is already in the town right now and it is zoned for multifamily? Do we know what their plans would be to do with that?
Or the developer themselves.
Jesse, do you have any idea at this point? The developer, would you like to speak to that question?
If we don't get that piece, it reduces the density tremendously, and it's a very expensive piece of property. Both of them are, but if it's not annexed, it's really difficult to work into jurisdictions on one project. I don't know how we would possibly do that, to be honest. So probably wouldn't move forward.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just add, the piece of property that's in the town right now is majority wetland, and what the highland that is not in the wetland is actually in the floodplain and the floodway. Part of the reason we're asking for this annexation is because we're trying to stay on the highland side of that floodplain and not impact that area. And to be able to do that, we need this piece of property. Basically, both pieces of properties need each other because the drainage goes out through one and the other provides developable area.
Council members, any other questions for the developer?
Not for the developer, no, sir.
Any item? Thank you. Any items for discussion?
I just want to point out that our planning commission voted to deny it. We heard from members, and I've spoken to them myself, members from the school board and the school administration who think this is a very bad idea. And I want to congratulate all the neighbors from Newington. I've never seen a neighborhood galvanize like that for a cause. So I can't imagine how we would approve this project, but I intend to vote no on it, obviously.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, not only is this in my district, but I used to live in this neighborhood, and exactly what everyone came out here and said as far as the traffic flow goes around those schools is exactly correct. And this might be a wonderful development. I mean, looking at the plans, it looks beautiful, but I side with my homeboys out there, not in this area. It doesn't fit for this area. If you came back with something as far as single family homes, we might consider that, or I might consider that, but it doesn't fit for this part of our neighborhood, and it is not wanted.
I agree.
I guess I'll allow cheering for my esteemed Mayor Pro Tem. Go
Do
ahead.
y'all hear me?
To tonight's to the discussion is
most items on our agendas, we get a petition and then we get a second reading down the line. And that kind of gives an opportunity for a developer to address a lot of these concerns that have been brought forth tonight. I know a lot of the people that stood up and spoke tonight. A lot of y'all know me, and if y'all know me well enough, you know I'm not one just a rollover for a developer either. So that's the only reason I would have entertained the idea of first reading tonight, was to see what the developer can do to address Mr. Dougherty's concerns with the school district. What can we do to address traffic and access points and buffers and all the things that you guys spoke about tonight that I think are worthy points that y'all made. Traffic is one of those things that we're living with traffic all every day, and that's I don't necessarily think that one apartment complex or two apartment complexes are going to be a major issue with traffic, a major addition to traffic, just because I lived in apartments, and apartments have really gotten a bad name in the town of Somerville. I know I lived in an apartment a block from here when I was a little kid at Ayers Apartments. At one point in my childhood, I lived on Martins Creek, and one thing I noticed about living on Martins Creek is there was never a line of cars leaving the access to the apartment complex in the morning or in the afternoon coming in, because not everybody in the apartment complex goes to work at the same time. So that's just one thing I'll add to that. But other than that, no, I totally respect everybody's decision tonight, but that's the only reason I was considering first reading tonight. Thank you.
Mayor, may I
Councilman
speak?
Jackson, go ahead.
Yes, I agree with Richard that I will pass first. I would vote for first reading to sit with the developer and actually see what the concept and plans are and talk to the citizens and see where we can get with it and get some facts out of it that aren't so loaded with emotion.
Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from that. Sorry for the echo.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, as this plan sits tonight, I would not have voted for it either. And I hear all of what you're saying. I have small kids myself. So I would have considered first reading to see if they would have considered speed bumps and sidewalks, overhead walkways from the school, maybe, seeing what they had to say, because we don't have to pass second reading. We can turn it down. If I've seen traffic studies from DOT, and sometimes I feel like they need more. They're not stating that everything that is needed. So perhaps that would be an opportunity to get more from the developer as well, even more than what's in the traffic studies. So, but as it sits, I would be no. However, if the developer wanted to sit down and consider a development agreement where they did a lot of considerations for the school and for the town, I would consider passing first reading.
Any other comments or discussion? I'll just piggyback and second some of the comments that I just heard from my council members. I think you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Halter. This is the most organized neighborhood HOA I've ever seen in unison, and that speaks volumes to the tight-knit community that y'all have created. And that's why Newington is a special place in Somerville. To the developer, I would be willing to allow first reading as well if you came to the community that's right here and address a lot of those challenges. You have a great deal of investment going on in this property. I recognize that this annexation request is for multifamily residential, but it could be GR5 annexation with the multifamily behind it. But I believe this community has great concerns about their children's safety, about traffic cutting through their neighborhood, about, from the school district. I spoke with Ashley Wimberly as well today. And Chad, thanks for speaking as superintendent, spoke with you yesterday. They have a great deal of issues moving folks through this area, because when those schools were constructed before I was born, those schools were basically for folks to ride a bus and for neighborhood folks to ride their bikes and walk to school. And now everybody drives their kid to school. and they've been squeezed and packed into that school. So there's a lot more kids to contemplate. I would just, if it were me and I were in your neighborhood with your organization, recognizing that if they didn't come to the table and meet your needs, you could deny them next time. I would want the opportunity to work with the developer and see what you could get out of this. Potentially, from my perspective, millions of dollars of improvements for things that you find necessary in your community. But I'll let council decide. I know we have a motion to deny and a second. So we'll take the vote. All those in favor of the denial say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed to the denial say aye.
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 And I'm the split vote. I'm going to give the developer an opportunity to come to that neighborhood. But I see it as a mandate that you guys need to listen to these concerns, and you better take the appropriate action or you're going to get a denial next month. No, sir, you don't have an opportunity to speak.
Under pending bills and resolutions, item A, second and final reading of an ordinance to annex TMS number 15200000227. Located at Bacon's Bridge Road and Crestwood Drive and totaling approximately 4.7 acres, currently zoned R2, single family residential in Dorchester County, and requested to be zoned MFR multifamily residential. Following annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits, this is in Council District 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you leave, please try to keep the noise at a minimum. Council members?
Mr. Mayor, oh, good. Oh, Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of second reading.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve second reading. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'm going to vote once again no on this. I voted no the first time, and the very same reason that I'm voting no against the Loudoun and King Charles development is there's just way too much traffic out on that road, especially at this where this is going to be located. My husband is actually one of the drivers that was hit by someone else coming out of this neighborhood that a gentleman was talking about earlier, probably about 7 years ago. There's just lots of problems. There's another neighborhood directly across the way from it. They're trying to get out and make a left turn out onto Bacon's Bridge while the people coming out of Crestwood are trying to make that right or a left. It's crazy out there, and putting it yet another multifamily residential area. It's just going to add to all that traffic.
Mayor?
Right. Yes, sir.
Has the traffic study been finished for this property, and has DOT said anything about a possible light at that intersection?
It is my understanding that it's not been completed, and they do not have, do they have any formal plans in front of our planning staff?
Well, then I'll make a motion that we table this until traffic study is complete and the developer has a chance to work with DOT. The intersection's already unsafe. Let's make it safe and then decide.
Mr. Jackson, we do, you may not have heard well, we do have a motion and a second on the table. Would you withdraw that for further discussion here? And that
Yes.
can be an alternative?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just say that this 4.7 acres, I'm in support of it because it is on the corner of Loudoun and Bacon's Bridge. Bacon's Bridge is, right, yeah. Bacon's Bridge is a state road, so it's considered a major road, unlike that development that we just heard a moment ago. That's not, this one is on a state road. So to me, it makes sense to have some additional housing there with easy access. So I am voting in support of this. I feel like this is the best location for multifamily on a major thoroughfare.
Okay. Any other discussion?
What is the motion right now?
The motion is
To
to
approve.
approve.
Okay,
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir. We have a duly seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Mayor.
aye.
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 Oh,
2, 3, 4. Okay. Those opposed? All
Nay.
right. Motion passes.
Item B is second and final reading of an ordinance to amend ordinance 25-0206 to correct the TMS number in the ordainment section from TMS number 13710000047 to TMS number 13010000047.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item C, second and final reading of an ordinance to amend chapter 16 offenses and miscellaneous provisions, article 1 in general, section 16-18 encampments on public property.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item D, second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13611060014 located at 1120 Central Avenue, totaling approximately 1 acre and owned by Laura Lee Strauss from GR5 General Residential to GB General Business.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 8E, second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 14507050055, located at 122 Pebbles Lane, totaling approximately 4.67 acres and owned by Pebbles Brunson from AC Agricultural Conservation to GR5 General Residential.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 8F, second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 5, Subdivision and Infrastructure Standards, Sections 5.10.3, Drainage Easements, 5.11.2, Required Improvements for Final Plat Approval, and 5.11.3, Warranty Liability Period.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item G, second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 13, Administration and Procedures, Section 13.3, Boards and Commissions, Development of a Cultural Arts Commission.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
Second, Mr. Mayor. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 13, Administration and Procedures, Sections 13.3.5, 13.3.6, 13.4.1, 13.7.1, 13.8.1, 13.8.2, and 13.8.3.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? I figured Councilman Halter would make a statement about this being more business friendly, able to get through our processes faster.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Outstanding. All right. I know it's a lot on there, but that's what the intent is. Motion to approve, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 9A, resolution authorizing the retention of certain public finance professionals in connection with the proposed financing of a new public facility of the town of Somerville and other matters related thereto.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. All right, motion and a second to approve. And Mr. Slatton, I know we had one public comment on this item, and would you describe what we are doing here? I believe it's misconstrued as the issuance of bonds for this.
Yes, sir. What this does is authorize staff to move forward with engaging with bond counsel, engaging with underwriters in the pursuit of financing mechanisms for financing the new public safety facility. That's what this resolution is. Just gives us the authority as staff to move forward to bring to you solutions for financing this facility in the future.
Thank you, sir. That is very helpful. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item B, first reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville's Unified Development Ordinance to remove 500 North Main Street, Somerville, South Carolina from the town's historic district.
I make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for first reading.
May I speak?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Councilman Jackson.
When I came to Somerville and first went into that building, having something to do with the government, I was totally, the building just didn't look functional at all. And it really surprised me. And then it was almost falling down then, and it's worse now. And I did vote not to bring it into historic district because it is way outside the historic district. And I didn't see it as a functional or structural building. And now, since new things have happened and then found out that everybody talks about Catherine Spring, but to me, Somervillians would not allow her to go to that hospital. It is a monument to segregation that the town enjoyed at that time. And I just don't want that for the entrance to our town. I mean, it's a terrible history. It's not some special thing that she did for, no, they cast her aside. And I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Thank you, Council. Other comments?
Yes, sir. We were quickly going through our agenda, and this is where we come to a screeching halt. No further discussion. And issues like this, as in politics, there are extremes. So there's the extreme that says keep everything, and there's the extreme that says bulldoze everything. And as in politics, I don't think the answer's out here. I think the answer's somewhere in here. I do believe that there's a compromise. I have, for the last 6 months, every person I have spoken to who lives here in town, I would ask them their opinion on this. And I've even talked to members of the bar, and I've talked to people who have lived here all their lives. And to a person, one-on-one, they will admit that there's a compromise there. But I think in the public forum, we tend to migrate to the extremes of the left or the right. So I do believe there's a compromise here. And I will bring up one other thing that, do you remember on the internet years ago, the dress that was white and gold or black and blue? I mean, they couldn't appear any more different. My wife and I see the exact opposite, and similar is true for the Chamber of Commerce. And I do want to thank them for doing that poll of our citizens. I really thought we were doing the right thing by getting input from our citizens on that. But again, on the extremes, some will see that at 60% don't want anything to happen. I see that 60% want something to happen. That's just the way I read it. Maybe I'm the white and gold dress and you're the black and blue dress. I don't know, but I do think there's room for compromise there. This is going to be the entranceway, especially when we finish our Main Street Resiliency Project. This is going to be the entrance to our town. And do we want it, the entrance to be 30 county staff cars parked out front, or do we want a nice park out there? I remember when we were redeveloping Hutchinson Square, and poor Doyle Best, the parks director, took an absolute beating over that project. But since it got done, I have not heard one single negative comment about Hutchinson Square. And I think the same is true, hopefully, if this block of 5 North Main is redeveloped. I hope that it's a project that everybody can be proud of. And I do congratulate everybody on being passionate about it, because that's how we go from a project that has apartments to now we're talking about a hotel and retail space. And so I think if we can combine that effort to have something we can compromise on and all be proud of, I think we can have something very special there, and it needs to be special there.
And I agree, and I would like to thank the developer and the county for saving the part of the hospital that they plan on saving, that center 2-story area in the wing. I think that's a good compromise. And I agree, it should be a nice entrance to town. And I think the Veterans Memorial and the Missouri Park, all along Main Street. I didn't even know there was a Veterans Memorial there till about 6-8 months ago, because it was covered in bushes. So I like to see the changes coming.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add a few coins to throw on the table, but to agree and piggyback on what Councilman Halter said, was speaking of compromise, I think that's where we are as well at this point in the project, and the potential for redevelopment over there. Some might ask, why would a person like me that was raised here in this town, why would I go along with a compromise to quote unquote destroy a historic building? Well, it's fact of the matter for me personally. I was raised in this town, but I wasn't born in this town. I'll be 52 years old next month, and for my entire life, there hasn't been a hospital in that building. 52 years. I did some quick math based on some comments on when the building was built. It's 36 years as a hospital, and the remainder of it is not a hospital. So the building itself, it doesn't hold fond memories for me. I never stepped foot in there other than to go get shots as a kid. Of course, I didn't really enjoy that very much. So, and I speak being born there. I made a note. My father left a little while ago. He could probably back this up, but speak about not being born in the hospital. I was actually almost born in Jack Park's ambulance on the side of 17A, because there wasn't a hospital in Somerville, and Trident Hospital hadn't opened yet. By the way, Stanley Tucker, if y'all know Judge Stanley Tucker, he was driving the ambulance. Our fire chief, who was my father, was in the back, and along with my Aunt Pat. So that was crowd. And Charlton Cochran, if y'all remember Cochran Shoe Store, Charlton Cochran was our town's EMT and coroner. So he was all prepared to bring me in or take me out, one of the two, when it came about. But I think what the county has done with the preservation of the building through the deed restriction, I think what they've come about with, what the developers come about with the plan for the facility is a beautiful facility, a beautiful park, a great opportunity for a boutique hotel in Somerville, in downtown Somerville. As Councilman Halter said, there's not a hotel in Dorchester County in Somerville. You have to go to Berkeley County to get a hotel here. So that's exciting to me. The potential for more retail space, fine dining that's over on that square that could draw people to walk to that area. People that stay in the hotel could go across the street and shop at the produce stand and visit the produce stand. I mean, those are some exciting things for me as a Somerville resident, as somebody that really loves this town, and has spent a lifetime here. Never cared to go anywhere else. But that's my stack of change that I'm throwing on the table, Mr. Mayor, and why I support this ordinance and to remove it from the historic district. And I know that my Christmas list is probably gonna get thin after tonight too. So.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I started my campaign. I knew I'd have to vote on this, and it's been the one vote I've been dreading the whole time. And I've thought long and hard on it and went back and forth, and I've prayed on it a lot, but I stated strongly in my campaign that I was for historic preservation, and I said I was for smart development, and I am, and I feel like that this property combines the both of those. The main facade, the portico, the 2-story, the 1-story, the doors, the windows, the architectural details, all of that's going to be preserved. And that's what we remember. Like Councilman Waring said, it hasn't been a hospital since the 70s. And I was born and raised here, and I wasn't born there. Thankfully, I wasn't born yet at that time. But I do think that they're doing a good job preserving it and giving the town some benefits. We're gonna have almost an acre park, that's gonna be an event space and the welcome park and the Veterans Memorial. And so that's gonna be lovely. And I really feel like in my heart that everyone's going to be so proud of this one day. It's going to be just like Hutchinson Square, that everyone was happy with Hutchinson Square when it was done. So I am voting in support tonight.
I want to just quickly point out too, that this project still has to go before the Commercial Design Review Board, a board that I served several terms on, and they're going to make sure this is a good project.
Any other comments? I hate to do this, but I'm going to add a few more.
And
I've seen, oh, go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
And I was just going to say, thank you all so much for coming out and voicing your opinion, because we do want to hear from the public. I know I want to hear from people and how they feel before I vote on issues. And also thank you to the developer and the county, because they have went back and forth on this for years. And so everybody, the chamber, the county, the developer, and the public, we've all, everybody's put a lot of heart into this for a long time. So I'm ready to see it move forward.
All right. Well, since I have the privilege of getting the last word in, maybe, no, I'm just kidding. Some folks are interpreting this first reading and this move by council and the recommendation by others as a lack of confidence in our Board of Architecture review. And there could be nothing farther than the truth from that. Our bar did exactly what they are charged to do, and I am thankful for their service on this project. I've spoken to specific bar members and heard them in their meetings speak out and say that this project should not be in their purview. Okay, so this is not a situation where the bar failed the town. This is a situation where the solution that's best for the citizens of Somerville, based on the feedback that I have, is something that they cannot produce at their level. Okay, so let that be very clear from my perspective. I want to thank the chamber for taking a proactive approach when this project was stalemated. It could have lasted in that stalemate position for quite some time if you didn't take the initiative to pull folks together, combine, survey, and solicit feedback in an aggressive manner so that folks can really hear and respond what the public's expectations are. And while some of that feedback, as you heard, can be argued from either side, I believe the resounding answer of do nothing is unacceptable to our community. I want to thank the county and their developer partner. If you have seen someone reference the initial concept design that had extreme density on 500 North Main from some 2 years ago, approximately, that was released. And if you look at the one today that's on their website, what you see is someone that responded to feedback every step of the way, listened to the community, and reshape their proposal based on the feedback they received. I think that should be commended. They didn't say what we heard earlier, that this is a done deal. They said, we hear you and we want to do better. This is a gateway opportunity for our town. We have the opportunity to project Hutchinson Square 5 blocks away and book in where our historic shopping district and beautiful shopping district begin. This is an area where this welcome park is going to be a place where people want to take their prom photos. People want to have their kids run around. This is going to create memories and a lasting legacy for years to come, but it couldn't be done without outside investment. If we want to reclaim the brand of excellence that Somerville was back in its heyday with the Pine Forest Inn, it's going to take outside investment and partners who want to work with us, respond to our community members, and deliver on their expectations with a high quality, beautifully landscaped project. And I have confidence in our Commercial Design Review Board to make sure that the Somerville standard, recognizing that the hospital is going to be preserved, the main two-story component and the facade on the south side is going to be preserved and incorporated in a beautiful design element on the site. I have confidence that the DRB will make sure that our standard of excellence and the Somerville charm that everyone here adores will be incorporated in this project. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of first reading, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. And now this item will go before our planning commission. That will be in the August meeting. So for those who want to provide feedback to the planning commission, plan on that in August. And based on their response, we will be looking at this for second reading probably in September, but I can't control that depending on time frame. So I just want everybody to know what's going on. So we're transparent through the process.
Item C, first reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13711070001, located at 401 South Magnolia Street, totaling approximately 0.51 acres and owned by Camellia Cottage SC LLC from GR2 General Residential to GR5 General Residential, 5 units per acre. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for denial of the rezoning at its meeting on June 16th, 2025. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for denial at its meeting on July 7th, 2025.
Motion for denial.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for denial. Any discussion?
I'm thinking I was gonna deny this. Been hearing some of the difference between the zoning and what could be done. I would like to delay that so I can talk to some people about what could be done. If what they're trying to do is less than what the present zoning would be, I would be okay with that.
Councilman
But
Jackson, are you
yes,
amending the motion to deny to a motion to defer?
yes,
Is that possible? Yeah, he's making a motion. Do we have a second to the amended motion?
I'll second that, Mr.
All right, we have a second to the amended motion. Any discussion on deferral over denial?
Mr. Mayor, oh, good.
I don't see any reason to deny this, any reason to delay this. Here's, once you rezone it from GR2 to GR5, we have no control over what happens there within the GR5 zoning. And then that opens the door for other parcels in the GR2 in the downtown historic district to follow suit with GR5. I think this is, look, my business is engineering and surveying. We do a lot of work in Mount Pleasant, turning people's backyards into ADUs. And let me just say, I'm glad that's in Mount Pleasant and it's not here in downtown Somerville. I don't see any reason to delay this.
All right, well, oh, go ahead. Are you still discussing his motion to defer the amended motion?
No, not his motion.
All right,
I'll speak to that as well. I don't really see a need to defer this as well. More so because we do have 2 readings it requires 2 readings to do anything. So, I don't see any need to, delay first reading either.
I withdraw my motion.
okay, Councilman Jackson withdrew his motion to defer.
I'd like to ask my fellow council members if the owner was willing to put a deed restriction on the other one, that it would only be 1 single family home, would you then be willing to pass the GR5 zoning? Because at GR5, then it would be 2 single family homes versus GR2, 1 single family and then 2 ADUs. And the owner has stated he is willing to put a deed restriction on that other lot.
Me personally, that doesn't make a difference to me. I love the fact that we require half-acre lots in downtown Somerville. That's the way neighborhoods used to be developed, large lots, yards for kids to play in, not create a space for someone to put a house or a garage or an ADU on every available square foot.
All right, we have a motion to deny first reading.
Just one other point. I said the other night that I voted against, I voted along with the rest of the committee to deny this as well, to send it with a recommendation of denial. Get more information on it since then, gave me time to pause and think a little bit. And the fact that one, it is their property. I'm pretty pro property owners' rights and what people can do with their property. So I'm always a little hesitant to step in on those types of issues unless it's a major, some kind of, blatant thing, which I don't feel like we have here in talking to the resident and even hear him tonight. To that end, I think that we should give this at least first reading so we do have more time to think before next month. And deed restriction in my mind is better. With as it's zoned right now, it is very simple to get those ADUs and the cottages and whatnot. And speaking with Ms. Schuler this morning, it's much easier than GR5. With it as it's zoned currently GR2. So that's just it. Those were the things I think about when I hear the neighborhood saying that they don't want the cottages, they don't want the extra dwellings on the properties, and this does that. But flip side, I do also agree that it's a slippery slope that we can't open Pandora's box and then not be able to close it. So, but I do believe we ought to give it first reading.
All right, any other discussion? I'm gonna ask Miss Jessie to come up because, and I'm embarrassed by this, but I heard some comments tonight. And I don't know our zoning well enough off the top of this bald head to accurately determine whether these comments are yes or no factual. In GR5, if this property were turned to GR5, what could go there and give us the worst case scenario?
So it could be subdivided, as he stated, it could only be subdivided into 2 lots. It's not large enough for more than that. They could be technically 2 primary homes, 1 on each lot. There's already one existing, 1 on each lot built. And if each lot were owner occupied, each lot could also have an ADU in GR5.
And if it remains as GR2, what is the worst case scenario?
In GR2, there's already the primary structure. They could have up to 2 ADUs, but again, the lot would have to be owner occupied for that to occur.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Ms. Schuler. All right, hearing none, the
Lot
motion.
size would also come into play there as far as ADUs on the subdivided lots. Of course, as far as permeation, permeable surface and whatnot.
Correct. GR2 has an impervious surface of 30% allowance. GR5 has an impervious surface of 35% allowance. So there's slightly larger impervious surface allowed in GR5, but they are smaller lots. And then there's slightly different setbacks, not very different, but slightly different setbacks. There's a 30-foot front setback. In GR2, there's a 25-foot front setback. In GR5, there's a 15-foot side setback. In GR2, there's a 10-foot side setback. In GR5. So I mean, there are some slight differences in those things. As far as short-term rentals, which was mentioned, it is a conditional use in GR2, which means as long as you meet all the conditions, it can be allowed. In GR5, it's a special exception. So you have to meet all the conditions, and then you also have to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals for approval.
Mr. Mayor, procedurally, am I able to amend that motion after we've already had an amendment to that motion?
He withdrew his motion amendment. So yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'd like to amend the motion that we pass first reading, allowing GR5 with that the owner will be putting a deed restriction on the property. This, again, just first reading.
Say what? Since the motion,
There's a motion on the table for denial. That has to be handled first.
well, she can amend that motion.
Yeah, I amended,
Can
we
you
amended
change
the
it?
motion.
If the amendment Dick put on the table, if you agree to do that,
get a second, then we need to dispose of that amendment. Then we can go back to the original motion.
All right, we have a motion to amend. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion to amend? All
We
those
have
in
a
favor-
second reading to deny.
Say what?
We have the second reading to deny if we're not satisfied.
Understood. Right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. That, oh, those opposed? All right, the motion passes. Now, the amended motion, we need to vote
Now you're
on
voting
the,
on the amended motion to defer, I'm sorry, to deny. That's a up or down vote, yes or no.
all right. We have a motion and a second for denial. Well, the amended motion, okay,
I understand. We have to go back to the original motion. You still got to vote on the
all right.
original
All those in favor say aye.
motion.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. All right. First reading is passed with the conditions outlaid by Councilwoman Johnson Wilson.
Under miscellaneous, item A, discuss and consider a proposal to upgrade to Motorola's Premier One for Police Department and Fire Department's computer automated dispatch, records management system, command central, and drone first responder programs for the Somerville Emergency Communication Center for end-of-life replacement of software and hardware. The Finance Committee voted to move the item to full council for further discussion and consideration at its meeting on July 7th.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve based on the information we received in our packets. Did anybody want a presentation by the fleet of officers and technicians in front, or are we prepared to go ahead and move forward?
Well, I'm absolutely in favor of this. I just want to know how we're going to pay for it.
Okay. Chief?
Fair. In painful detail, please.
Hold on. We had a motion to approve a second. Now your presentation. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So as we discussed the other night, and I appreciate you all taking the time to entertain us again tonight. We are looking at an upgrade where we were able to cut just under $1 million out of the program for all of our software and hardware as well. And we had several things that were not mentioned the other night that are mentioned in the package that they being Motorola are literally placing into the deal for us that are being absorbed in costs that would normally cost us additional. In addition to that, we had some training today with Motorola with our crime scene technicians. As you know, we have about 28,000 pieces of evidence in the Somerville Police Department's possession. And when we had our cyber attack, they're entering these items in individually one by one. So when we originally looked at this program last March, prior to the cyber attack in July, it did not include a particular package for our evidentiary needs. It did, but it was supposed to be put in manually, which at the time would have been fine, but now it's not. So what they have agreed to do just today, they went all the way to the highest level of Motorola, was to even throw that in on top of it. I don't know what that price point is to add that in, but before we go in the numbers, I want to make sure that I put that before you. Also, even though we've refreshed our equipment and our hardware, we've added several programs. We've added Rave to accommodate the virtual CAD to CAD dispatch between ourselves and Dorchester County Consolidated Dispatch at the consideration of the consultant. We are able to add in the other items as well to that number. So what a refresh would normally look like would be every 8 to 10 years. And we have not had a full upgrade in 29 years. So my entire tenure of working here, the last time they did it was 29 years ago. This number that I'm getting ready to talk about accounts for 2% of my budget. That does not include the fire's budget. So we're $1 million, and we broke it up to show you the yellow, the contract payment. So when we talked about the other night without the PowerPoint was the $280,000 in current budgeted items to be absorbed and how much money we get back from these particular items. So with our 911 funds, it's $160,000 a year, and reimbursable state 911 funding, $245,000. So Ms. Rhonda helped us prepare when we met this week after Monday's meeting was what this would look like over the 6-year period. So P1 year 1, 25, 26, we don't have to pay anything, as I was explaining the other day. However, we're going to be able to take that $525,000 you see from the bottom line, and we'll be able to put that towards the cost of year 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then in addition to what we already have in funds, which is going to be the incoming funds of 280K, 160, 145, totaling 685,000. So what that number looks like is actually much more generous than what we presented on Monday of $317,432. And that would be an occurrence of year 2. And year 3 would go up about roughly $2,500. Obviously the same in year 4. And then in year 5, 324,885. And then where you see year 6 and the 0 number with the different color there, that is going to be where we're going to renegotiate, hopefully with Motorola, to enter in another contract lasting another 4 years. Another thing I wanted just to mention is after speaking to some experts since Monday, the drone first responder programs that we discussed the other day, they're becoming very popular around the country, and they're expecting that within the next 3 to 5 years to go up to 6 to 9 times what the cost is right now. So what that'll do is this will lock us into this price for the next 5 years, potentially 6, and hopefully into reoccurring years. So the number we came up was 317,000. What Ms. Rhonda prepared there at the very bottom of the top graph, you see $245,000 in hardware. That is what we're going to be able to, that's how much of that money we need to put to install. So 245, 150, that money is going to be reimbursable because it's a reimbursable expense. So in addition to the other things, so if we were to do any number of combinations, we could take that money, Mr. Halter and council, and we can literally put that back into what we're going to be doing. In addition to that, Scott Slatton might kill me, but we have an excess of $600,000 right now in 911 funds that we are not touching. What that's planned for is for all the hardware and furniture to go into the new public safety complex in 2 years. What's not projected here that goes in our favor again, and that money is reimbursable, the $660,000. So in addition to that, we will be able to look at future revenues, the 911 funds that we get back every year. That's anticipated to go up much higher. Right now, cell phone accounts for so many dollars per phone call that comes in. They have not changed that in many years. That's expected to change in our favor as well. So the number is $317,432. What I can tell you is we can be very efficient in our budgets. When I have a combined budget of almost $16.5 million, that's a drop in the bucket for the safety of the town of Somerville and our police officers and firemen. In addition to that, Motorola met with Charleston County Sheriff's Office today, and I was made aware of this, but they already have a consolidated dispatch, but they're looking at a real-time crime center like we're wanting to do. That would marry our 2 agencies together. And my hopes is to work with Mario from the county to see if we can maybe do something with them, with Dorchester, because we work so well with them. We do have the ability right now with the same comparability they have with Rave to marry their license plate reader system with ours so that our investigations can be married together and we could utilize their information, our information through this Command Central module. I know that's a lot, sir, and council, but I wanted to try to explain that for people who maybe not have been here or maybe to help kind of refresh some memories.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the way I'm reading this, you figured out how to get a program that should have been $1 million a year. We're getting it for about $300,000.
It was actually going to be about just under 2 million a year because we got the 900,000 a year taken off. So if you add that up per year, that's several $1,000,000 that we were able to do. So as obviously the day Motorola is here, but they are here to support us because they know this has been a long journey for us as an organization with our cyber attack. And this is going to best benefit not only our policemen, but our firemen as well, and the citizens we serve. The one thing I will tell you, and with the efficiency of the budget, that we try to be very efficient with what we do. We try, I mean, we were over on overtime every year, but we can't account for what crimes are going to happen and what we have to respond to. But certainly, if push came to shove, not anything I would hope you would look at, but if we had to in the future look at, if I have projected growth, I need more police officers, that if we could, if we had to pull back of what that would look like to make this work, then I'm certainly willing to do that. It's not something I want to do, but I'm willing to do it because I think that we're at a cusp of something very special here with our new public safety complex being built. And I apologize for not looking at you, ma'am. I've been talking to him.
Oh, no, you're good. I actually have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
These funding sources that you have for 911, do these account for the 911 funding reductions that I think the CDC put in place in 2025 or?
I believe so. I'm not the subject matter expert. Actually, Mario is, along with the people from Motorola. But what I will tell you is it was being misused by many agencies around, and that money was not being appropriated and used properly. So what they did was they put a cap on it per dispatch center or per PSAP of how much money you can be allotted based off your population, your call volume, so on and so forth. So that is where the 160,000 came from. It used to be almost an endless pot of money until you have smaller organizations that mismanage and are not fiscally responsible. So I'm hoping that number is going to go up tremendously for us, for the town of Somerville, county of Dorchester, Charleston, and Berkeley as well.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, I brought the crayons for you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Chief, thank you for responding to my request and engaging Rhonda. Met with her this afternoon. I
She's
greatly
difficult to
appreciate
deal with sometimes,
Rhonda.
but she supports this.
Another question.
She said you.
Oh, sorry.
What is the life expectancy on this equipment? You said 10 to 12 years.
6 to 10 for a refresh, but this is going to include, and I didn't mention this today, but Monday, any types of upgrades or any type of things that happen over the next 6 years will be absorbed into this pricing. So anything that we need to upgrade, this pricing is locked for the next 6 years. So if tariffs, interest rates, any of those things affect us, we're locked. So yes, ma'am, that is correct. But we have been through some different leaderships within the police and fire department. And I think it's about time that we take care of our dispatch center.
Council, ready for the vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Great work.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any more public comment for tonight, so next is executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move we enter into executive session discussion of negotiations incident to a proposed sale of town-owned property, TMS number 137-00-00-002.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session, discussion of negotiations incident to a proposed sale of town-owned property, TMS number 137-00-00-002. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're in executive session. You trying to beat 3 hours? Thank you, Council.
Yeah. Absolutely. Big time. I'm just asking your wife about